Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Last night I talked to you a little bit about social justice and how it's now a political movement in church. I warned you, there's a difference between social justice where you're just serving the Lord and social justice where you're serving the overlord. I warned you to be careful and know who you're getting into bed with. Now, watch this video we have now from Minnesota. See this? These are students. Health care for social justice and education for social justice being taught now, and kids are being used by our schools. What are we doing? I want to show you something else. Listen to the words of Barack Obama and what he said just last week. Listen to this very carefully. Watch.
If you believe that it's right, then you've got to help us finish this fight. You've got to stand with me just like you did 3 years ago and make some phone calls and knock on some doors, talk to your parents, talk to your friends.
Excuse me.
Do not give up. We keep on going.
Talk to your parents. You need to talk to your parents. You see what's happening? Are you feeling a little overwhelmed? I'm here to tell you tonight it's going to get much, much worse, but I'm going to show you tonight why it's going to get worse, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how to conquer it. Come on, let's go. Hello, America. I was born in 1964. I remember watching TV when I was growing up. I remember watching shows like My Three Sons. Do you remember that? The Partridge Family, Wild Wild West. I remember watching Laugh-In. Laugh-In was probably the closest I ever got my family being a hippie. And Laugh-In had Don Rickles, so I mean, that's as close. My sister kind of was. She was older. She was all flower power there for a while. I remember the Carole King Tapestry album. That was radical. It was about as radical as we got in our house. I do remember my grandfather, and I remember we stayed with him during the summer, me and my grandmother, and we would see images like this on his television. And I remember my grandfather saying, "What the? Love in Detroit." Oh, my grandfather would just go off. He'd see a van like this and he'd go off. And he would talk about how these people were going to destroy the country. Remember, my grandfather was a Democrat, a staunch FDR Democrat. Americans saw all of these images and saw a lot of these just hippie clowns, and we were turned off. And so we tuned out. Until recently, I thought these people had grown up, grown past it, and just look back at these times and go, what a joke, man, what were we thinking? I especially didn't think people that, like the Weather Underground, I didn't think those people were still thinking about violence. I've been trying to figure out what this president has been doing since the first day in office. And last night we started to lay out his next move. And we are entering very dangerous times. Barack Obama said on the campaign trail that it is impossible to govern. I want you to really think of this, that it is impossible to govern if you jam something or sneak something through like universal health care with just 51 votes. These are not my words, these are his, and I want to play them for you. Watch.
You've got to break out of what I call the sort of 50+1 pattern of presidential politics. Maybe you eke out a victory of 50+1, but you can't govern. You know, you get Air Force One. I mean, there are a lot of nice perks of being president, but you can't deliver on health. We're not going to pass universal health care with a 50+1 strategy.
You get that? You cannot govern if you do something that massive with 50+1. I got news for him. He didn't even get that much support for the bill. They had to play all kinds of tricks to be able to get this one done. They didn't even get 50+1, which by his own definition now, his hands are tied. He cannot govern. He burned every last ounce of political capital he had. He bet the entire presidency on getting health care through. Fine, that's your goal. But remember, he knows you cannot govern. He told the Democrats this would make or break him. Well, now he's got it through, and I guess he can claim that he's been saving lives because of his health care plan, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. But he can't govern. And that's bothered me. I thought, gee, how is he going to govern? How is this going to happen? And then the weekend that they're passing health care through, they announced that they're going to do a couple of things. We'll talk about one of them later. They're going to, they want to start pushing for felons, convicted felons, to get their voting rights back. And then they also want to push through immigration reform, translation amnesty. Didn't that almost push America to the edge? Wasn't that wildly contentious back in 2004? See, a huge part of America is still recovering from the first sucker punch. I mean, we used to think that the good guys won in America, and we just need a minute here to catch our breath. What sane administration would do this, would not wait for America to catch her breath? Especially an administration that said in the past, you can't pass health care with 50+1 because you won't be able to govern. Last night, if you watched the show, and if you haven't seen it yet, you need to go back and watch it. Last night I was standing at this chalkboard, and I was going to show you quotes from the revolutionaries around the president now, next to the revolutionaries of the first American Revolution. And I say the first American Revolution because I think the second is right now. They're just calling it by a different name. They're calling it fundamental transformation. The largest entitlement of our generation, the largest entitlement ever. Healthcare, the first giant step in a much bigger agenda. So I was standing there looking at that board, and I was thinking to myself, where is the George Washington of our day? Where are the people like Samuel Adams or John Adams? Where are the great thinkers like Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Jefferson? Where are they? And I was in the commercial break, and it hit me. These guys were wild thinkers, but they were also revolutionaries. I mean, they actually thought about the things like, how do we fight the British? How do we overthrow the government? I mean, I've never thought about revolution. I've never thought about armed insurrection or bombing or anything like that. And then I looked at the other side of the board and I realized, wow, the people around the president have. Not only have they thought about it, many of them have plotted it. Some of them were actually engaged in bomb throwing. Bill Ayers and Jeff Jones, they were running around blowing stuff up. Have you? And these guys didn't, it's not because everybody believes in forgiveness. No. Bill Ayers told Alan Colmes that blowing stuff up, he doesn't regret it.
But do you regret setting bomb?
I don't regret anything I did to oppose the war, anything I did to oppose the war.
I wouldn't regret setting a bomb at a police station or setting a bomb at the Pentagon or the Capitol.
I don't look back on those things and regret them.
Okay? I want to show you who the president surrounds himself with, just a few of the people that he surrounds himself with.